Hello, and welcome to Backer Breaks It Down. In this episode, we explore angles and their radian measures. For example, pi over 4, 9 pi over 8, negative pi over 4. Those are radians. So another way that we can measure angles in trig is to use radians instead of degrees. Because think about it. Okay, degree units have no mathematical relationship to linear units. Like we all know there are 360 degrees in a circle, like of any radius, but like if you think specifically of radius 1, what's the relationship to those 360 degrees and 1? And so what radians do is they give us that relationship. So check it out. So notice that they start with the radius of this circle, and then they take the radius and they wrap it around so that it falls directly onto the circle's edge. And so what this GIF is illustrating is that 1 radian, that's the measure of that angle they're showing us, but that 1 radian is equal to like the length of the radius. So they are directly relating the angle measure to the radius. So when the radius of a circle and the arc length that that's creating, when the radius and the arc length are the same, that is where we get that radian from. And they're technically, if you go around the entire circle, it'd be 2 pi radians. That is what the circumference of a circle is. So 1 radian angle is the measure of the central angle of a circle that intercepts an arc equal in length to the radius of the circle. Okay. And so since the length of that intercepted arc is equal, like if you go all around the circle, you get the whole circumference. So if I just want part of the circle, I should divide the whole circle of 2 pi times the radius by, the 1 radian that I'm looking at. And so when you do that, you get 2 pi. So what this is suggesting is that like we know 360 degrees is what you get when you go around a circle completely in terms of degrees. This is suggesting that that's equivalent to 2 pi radians. So like if you were to put all the arc length together, you would get 2 pi radians. So we can like use this in order to convert degrees into radians and radians into degrees. Okay. And so like I can use this conversion factor that 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radians. Okay. I can also make it a little bit simpler and I could be like, well, that means 180 degrees would be equal to pi radians. And this is like the conversion factor that we're using here. 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. So if I have an angle that's given to me in degrees, I can multiply this by pi over 360 degrees. And what I'm going to get when I simplify this is my angle in radians. I can take an angle given to me in radians, and I can multiply it by 180 degrees divided by pi radians, because the idea is we want these units to cancel. Okay. Oops. Sorry, that should be 180. Apologize for that. Okay, so let's actually try this out. So in problems 4 and 5, we want to convert each angle in degrees to radians. And so to go from degrees to radians, we need to multiply by pi radians over 180. So I can go like pi over 180. And what I get is 150 over 180 times pi. And then I can use a calculator to simplify the 150 over 180 fraction for me, or I can just use my like nice simplifying fraction skills, right? But 150 over 180, that's going to be 5 over 6. So we're looking at 5 pi over 6 radians. So when we're given degrees, we simply multiply the degrees by pi over 180, because you want those degrees to cancel out, and degrees on top will cancel with the degrees on the bottom. And then we just want to simplify the fraction that remains. So negative 18 over 180 pi. So I can reduce that, and I'm going to get like negative 1/10. So we're looking at like negative 1 pi over 10. Now to go from radians to degrees, we have to multiply the radian measure by 180 over pi radians. So when I do that, what happens here, notice like the pi's are going to cancel each other out, because you've got a pi on top, you've got a pi on the bottom, so they cancel out. So that leaves me with like 180 over 9, and that my calculator can very easily do and get me 20 degrees. So when we want to go from radians to degrees, we simply multiply by 180 over pi. The pi on top will cancel with the pi on the bottom, and then we can take care of the remaining parts. So here, negative 3 times 180 is negative 540. And so that's how we convert degrees into radians and radians into degrees. And that's how Backer breaks it down.